Book 2, Yipin Tomb. Wind, frost, winter snow, towering fir trees. This was the tomb of Emperor Xicheng of the previous dynasty. A mountain with a radius of 50 miles had been transformed into a circular treasure top for the emperor, with perfect fir trees planted on it. Beneath the treasure top, there was a grand palace built, known in history as the Shilin Mausoleum, though the local people often referred to it as the Yipin Tomb. Emperor Xicheng was an average emperor, with no great achievements during his reign of the previous dynasty, but he also had never made any major mistakes. Shilin had been quiet for hundreds of years since his death, and even scholars and poets rarely thought of it as a place of nostalgia or tragedy. The emperor of that dynasty left 100 soldiers to guard this tomb in Shilin. These soldiers were famous for being insincere in their efforts, as they mostly were known for causing trouble. After all, guarding a person who wasn't even living was very boring. A man named Zhang Qingmao staggered through the snow as he walked out of the Shilin Mausoleum, carrying 2 bottles. It was very cold in the winter, and he lost at a huachuan match, so decided to go get a drink. He also bought a few pounds of braised beef to warm his stomach. Although it was windy and snowy outside, when he thought of the fact that he was able to eat and drink comfortably for the first time in a while, he cheered up. With a full stomach, he set off to Pingshan town, which was about 20 miles outside Shilin. This day was the first day of the 12th lunar month, and it had been snowing for 4 days straight. The snow had accumulated to his knees, and after walking for a while, he yelped as he suddenly stumbled over a stone, falling down. He couldn't help but be jealous of his soldier colleagues who were comfortable and sheltered from the cold back in Shilin Mausoleum, as if they were the ones who forced him out in the snow. When he had scolded them thoroughly in his heart, he got up. Suddenly, he spotted a foot exposed in the snow. This was a foot that looked a bit like a carrot, and also a bit like a small tree trunk. The only way Zhang Qingmao recognized it as a foot was because it was still wearing pants and a shoe. The foot that Zhang Qingmao had dug out of the snow was dressed in high-quality black brocade, which was particularly noticeable in the snow. The shoe on the foot had a thin sole and a soft surface, with a faceless head embroidered on it, only hair and a neck, which was really strange. Zhang Qingmao had spent a few years in the martial arts world earlier in his life, and upon seeing the shoe he stood there and stared for a moment before suddenly shouting, "The faceless assassin!" The owner of that foot, that emerged from the snow, named Murong Wuyan, ranked 28th on the list of the most extraordinary people in the martial world. The assassin, of unknown age, was a barbarian, and one of the most famous things he had done was assassinating the head of Shaolin Temple and getting away without anyone seeing his true face. He was known as the Faceless Assassin. Chapter 8. Full Bi Bai Shi. 10 years ago, there were 4 members of Sogu sect that were Li Xiangyi's left and right hands. After Li Xiangyi disappeared, these 4 members created a group nicknamed Full Bi Bai Shi. Ever since then, their foothold had been located behind a swamp on Qingyuan Mountain. Here, there was a very small courtyard named Baichuan. There were 4 or 5 houses within Baichuan courtyard, with green bricks and black tiles, and now they were all covered in snow. A man wearing a green robe, who was about 40 years old, looked out at the courtyard with his hands by his sides. Outside his window, the courtyard was empty, except for a corner of blue brick that was covered with white snow, with traces of birds that had landed on it. The man in the green robe with thick eyebrows, handsome eyes, and a tall stature stood in front of the window, and he seemed to be extra tall. This man was the head of Full Bi Bai Shi. His name was Ji Hanfo. "I heard that there was an incident in Yipin Tomb recently," someone behind Ji Hanfo said. "Wurong Wuyan and Wu Guang were both found dead there. I researched the history of the Yipin Tomb. 30 years ago, a total of 10 people disappeared there, and 7 of them were skilled at martial arts. And Wurong Wuyan was the most highly skilled of them," Ji Hanfo said coldly. "His martial arts were not inferior to yours and mine." The person speaking behind Ji Hanfo was wearing a thick padded coat, with a round face and chubby lips. He weighed at least 250 pounds, and he was not tall, but round like a goose. His name was Bai Jiangchun, and he was the second member of Full Bi Bai Shi. The one who appeared along with Murong Wuyan in the snowy fir forest of Yipin Tomb was the corpse of Iron Bones Wu Guang, Bai Jiangchun said. Ji Hanfo responded lightly. "Biqiu sent people to investigate this matter, so there should be news soon." Bai Jiangchun chuckled. Biqiu hasn't been out for 10 years, since the head of Sogu sect disappeared." Though this man was wearing a padded jacket, he fanned himself with a cattail fan. You're no better. You've crippled your right hand. The dead are dead. What good does it do to torment yourself? If you've moved on so well, then why do you keep a model of the East China Sea islands in your room and secretly send people to search for the two of them? Ji Hanfo said lightly. Bai Jiangchuan snorted and changed the subject. Biqiu wouldn't go out if his life depended on it, and most of his disciples are amateurs that wouldn't do a good enough job. I have matters to deal with in Yunnan, and you and Lao Se are too busy to investigate. The incident at Yiping Tomb is a big deal. What are you planning on doing? Biqiu has already entrusted the case to the Feng family. Ji Hanfo's eyes gleamed. Though Biqiu doesn't go out, he knows how to do his work well. Bai Jiangchuan's chubby face contorted as he squinted. He handed the case to Feng Dobing? Ji Hanfo nodded. And what was the purpose of that? Bai Jiangchuan's eyes were bright. Ji Hanfo pondered for a while, then said slowly, Li Lianhua. Bai Jiangchuan slapped the cattail fan on the table. Li Lianhua, whose age, background, and appearance are a mystery. He made his debut 6 years ago as the #1 miracle doctor in the martial world. He has a lotus house with auspicious patterns, which is exquisitely crafted and can be carried by oxen and horses. His medical skills are miraculous. He once brought Shi Wenjue and He Lantie back to life. Recently, he collaborated with Bu Chonghai and Hua Rishue to investigate the ghosts in the Blue Window incident, though it's unknown what role he played in solving the case. As a member of Fobi Baishur, Bai Jiangchuan was responsible for keeping track of social connections in the martial world. As long as a person had a name, Bai Jiangchuan probably knew about them. If the person was famous, Bai Jiangchuan definitely knew about them, and could probably tell you everything there was to hear about this person, and any gossip or rumors about them as well. Ji Hanfo said, He has nothing to do with the sect master. He just owns a lotus house. Ji Hanfo paused and said in a deep voice, Do you remember when you and I entered the hinterland of the Jinyuan Alliance, and ahead of Di Feisheng's sleeping quarters there was a Buddhist temple? Bai Jiangchuan nodded. I still remember that when we rushed in, the temple was still burning incense, but Di Feisheng was gone. Well, the carvings on the temple walls were carved by the Golden Elephant Master by the order of Di Feisheng. The Golden Elephant Master comes from India, and he is extremely skilled at carving. The carvings and construction of the walls are deeply admired by Biqiu. Ji Hanfo said, On the Lotus House, the design is very similar to that of the walls of the temple. In fact, they're exactly the same. So you and Biqiu suspect that Li Lianhua is a member of the Jinyuan Alliance? Bai Jiangchuan thought carefully. Questioning him would be worth a try. If the Lotus House really is associated with the Jinyuan Alliance, then Li Lianhua must be related in some way to Di Feisheng. Ji Hanfo said calmly. Both Di Feisheng and Sect Master disappeared. If one is alive, then the other must be living too. Bai Jiangchuan didn't answer, and after thinking for a moment, he inhaled 2 long puffs of air through his plump nostrils. Who did Biqiu send to Xiling to investigate? Ge Pan. Ge Pan was Biqiu's most capable disciple. His bookkeeping and calculating skills were regarded as the best in Baichuan court. It wasn't long before Biqiu accepted him as a disciple. The most regrettable thing in his life was that he never saw Li Xiangyi with his own 2 eyes. Li Xiangyi, the head of the Sugu sect, was famous for his handsomeness and sternness, and for the skills and methods he used with his Xiangyi great swordplay, which astonished and amazed anyone who witnessed it. He is cold, arrogant, and unsociable, with unparalleled wisdom. He established the Sugu sect at the age of 17, and became famous in the martial world at the age of 18. There were a lot of talented members in the Sugu sect, but he could make people like Ji Hanfo, Bai Jiangchuan, and others bow their heads, listen to orders, and respect him like their leader. Based on this, one can imagine a little bit about what kind of person Li Xiangyi was. Ge Pan often lamented that he was born too late and had never witnessed Li Xiangyi's personality for himself. This time, he was working with the Feng family to go to Yiping Tomb, and Ge Pan felt a little excited about his mission. In the past 10 years, he had rarely been excited about missions, but this time, this mission was to test whether Li Lianhua was a member of the Jinyuan Alliance. He hurried on, and in the afternoon, he arrived at the place mentioned in Feng Dobing's letter, the Moonlight Inn. His horse was fast, gliding over the mountain roads like a shooting star. When turning the corner, some water suddenly sprayed onto the snow that had accumulated beside the mountain road, and the horse seemed to have tripped over something. Ge Pan held on tighter as the horse staggered and continued to gallop forward.